Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Make yourself at home. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Constance Carter, and I'm your host for today. Today, we're going to have such a powerful conversation about one of my heroes, Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm X's family has filed a $100 million wrongful death lawsuit alleging a cover-up in his assassination. And it's been spanned over decades. Now, this isn't just about historical icon. It's about justice. It's about accountability and the generational impact of systemic wrongdoing. So today, we are going to examine the claims to fight for the truth and what this means for Black families seeking justice and closure in similar situations. Now, I am so happy. I'm so happy to be here with the most beautifulest, the most intelligentest, the most amazingest queens on the planet. First, we have Miss Athena, the We Wealth warrior, all things pop culture. Miss Athena Gardner. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
And then we have, let's see, Dr. Alicia. She is the human rights advocate. All right. And a psycho. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. You guys, welcome. Give a warm welcome to Dr. Alicia. And then we have Madam President. Now, Madam President, I know y'all ready to hear from Madam President today. She gonna give it to us with her militant ways. She is the owner of the Freedom Company. It's not merchandise, it's a movement. And she's also an author of The Matters of the Heart. Welcome, Madam Prez. And then today we have a special guest joining us, Miss Shalay Camille. She is a real estate broker and owner. Where are you hailing from, Shalay?
Hailing from Boston, Massachusetts in the house.
All right, Boston, Massachusetts. So, y'all, Malcolm X. Well, first, you know what? Before we get into the video, I want to talk a little bit about what Malcolm X really meant to each of us, if he meant anything to us. And then I want to get into the video and then just have a dialogue about what's happening. Okay. So I want to start with you, Dr. Alicia. What did Malcolm X mean to you?
Oh, man. When I think about Malcolm X, I think about my freshman year in college. My freshman year in college, I walked around with the Malcolm X hat on and the Malcolm X t-shirt with a big X on the front. Yes. And me and all my friends, as soon as that movie came out, we were like flooding into the theater. My memory of Malcolm X is my first introduction to literature because I took an African-American studies course and we did a comparison between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. I wrote papers on this. And I remember Spike Lee, his efforts. Remember his efforts? He was trying to get everybody crowdfunding to get this movie done. And that was my first introduction and it was a beautiful time in 1992 to be an 18-year-old. Yes, I'm dating myself. Y'all know how old I am now. But that's my introduction. It was like my first step outside of Gary, Indiana, into the hands of Malcolm X. Definitely profound in terms of my understanding of Black consciousness.
Yes, come on. Beautiful. All right, Miss Shalay, what about you? What do you think of, or what did Malcolm X mean to you?
Oh my God. So when the movie came out, so 1992, so I was in middle school, right? And my mom, she was kind of militant. I have 4 sisters. She raised us on her own and everything like that. And so she used to make us watch Roots. I was even younger than 12 when I watched Roots. That was traumatic. But I remember when the movie came out, she was like, we have to sit down and watch it. So we actually sat down and watched it as a family. And I remember just not even being able to fully comprehend, like, oh my God, what this man went through, and being so inspired. And I remember us crying as a family and watching it over and over. We had it on VHS. My mother bought the movie. So his impact on our family and the conversations that we had after that movie was profound. I actually ended up reading a biography about him when I was in my early 20s. So the impact was definitely profound for me and what I believe about the Black community as a whole and what we need to be doing and striving and keeping our eyes moving forward and doing it boldly. So definitely a huge impact.
Good stuff. All right. What about you, Miss Athena? queen of all things, pop culture.
You know, I love your accent. You sound like fit right in, actually.
Listen, I be trying. Last week,
Listen.
Sierra said I didn't sound like I was from New Orleans, so I'm gonna try.
Maybe you can be an actress. So Malcolm X, what stands out to me with him is that quote that we all hear recently was the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. And I so appreciated him and his stance in the civil rights movement, but also highlighting the importance of the family, the home, the woman, and in particular, the Black woman's contribution to society and us not getting what we deserve. Malcolm X, when I think of him, I do think of, you know, the great civil rights leaders, and I liked his approach very well. So when I saw this article about his family seeking and what they're trying to do, I said, it's about time.
It's about time. Yes. Good. And Madam Perez, what about you? What do you think of when you think of Malcolm X?
When I think about Malcolm X, first of all, Malcolm X is one of my favorite people in the entire world. You know how people ask you, like, if you could go back to the future, you can sit down and talk to one person, who would it be? Oh yes, Malcolm X is one of my people in any setting, in any time. And when I think about Malcolm X, he is my Moses. Malcolm X is my Moses. He is the one that is willing to stand up and be a liaison between the people and the people that are oppressed and stand up for them and talk on their behalf and get them to the promised land. Like Malcolm X is the Moses of the civil rights movement. He is the Moses. He's also, you know, I love the tenderness in him too, because when you read his book and you see his life transformation, you know, he was a student. He wasn't just a teacher. He says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I follow his lead, what he says. And I believe the best leaders in the world are those who know how to follow.
Come on. Yes. I love it.
In the words of, the brother who wrote Malcolm X, Spike Lee, but I was also
Alex Haley.
I was thinking about John Singleton when he says, I am Malcolm X, but
I am Malcolm X.
Spike Lee, I am Malcolm X. So yes, Malcolm X is my Moses.
Good stuff. I want to ask the audience, what do you think of, or what does Malcolm X mean to you? I'll say this. It was 1990. I was a freshman in high school. And I was always, you know, kind of pro-Black, but I read the biography of Malcolm X as my book report. Transformational. It changed my life. I mean, when I tell you, I really understood what it meant to be Black. Just watching his life go from Detroit Red to Malcolm X to Malcolm Malik Al-Shabazz Hajj, whatever his name ended up being, but the discipline, the humility, the power, the love, like all of those things. And he did it with such grace. You know, and when you look back at his life and his discipline, especially like this sexual discipline and all the things that, you know, all the trappings that come along with being a man and a man of, you know, a certain caliber and the temptations that could come. And he was so focus on his mission. He loved his people so much. That's what I think when I think of Malcolm X. So I mean, it was actually the birth of me being an activist and turning into a wealth activist. But Malcolm X was my inspiration for that. Now, all of y'all, I want to take a look at this, excuse me, this press conference that the family had, because I think this is extremely important from, you know, to when we talk about getting justice. We think that there's no justice for Black people just because there hasn't really been a whole lot of justice throughout the course of this country, but it might be coming down the pipe. So let's take a look at this video.
Yes, I do believe there'll be further attempts on my life. I know them. They're foaming at the mouth.
Those words from Malcolm X after his home was firebombed would sadly prove true.
Prepared to enter
On February 21st, 1965, a WCBS camera crew was there at the Audubon Ballroom in Washington Heights, showing bullet holes in the lectern.
The front door exploding open, an vengeful mob in hot pursuit of a limping, terrified man.
Now, 59 years later, testimony from an eyewitness is shedding light on that mob scene.
He said as he struggled to grab him from getting away, it was as if NYPD was trying to help him escape.
It's part of a new $100 million civil lawsuit against the FBI, CIA, and NYPD, claiming the agencies conspired to allow his assassination to happen. The complaint reading in part, despite knowing the gravity of the threats, the FBI failed to protect Malcolm X, instead actively compromising his safety by arresting his security team days before his assassination. Talmadge Hayer confessed, but two other convicted defendants, the late Thomas Johnson and Norman Butler, who changed his name to Muhammad Aziz, maintained their innocence. They were exonerated in 2021. Aziz, now in his 80s, spent 20 years in prison and was interviewed as part of the Netflix series Who Killed Malcolm X.
If I wanted to do it, I couldn't have done it. So that means they knew what they were doing when they put me in jail.
Those men went to prison wrongfully, and all those undercover agents knew.
Malcolm X, remembered today in the very building where he was murdered, his daughter vowing justice.
Justice for the assassination of our father, and that the truth will be recorded in history.
He was a father, a husband, a community member, but he was also a man who genuinely fought for us.
We reached out to several parties.
Wow. The truth will be recorded in history. Powerful. I cannot wait to see justice prevail. I pray that it does. But we're going to talk about this. I want you to marinate on what you just saw, and we're going to talk about it when we come back from a commercial.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I am the proud producer of this show. So I hope that every day when you join us, you leave a little smarter than you came, because that's the point. Otherwise, why are you watching? So if you want to receive notices for when we go live, Fly Nubian Money goes live every single day. That's Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't know, now you know. All you have to do is text the word Queens, that's Queens, that's Queens, to 87948. That's 87948. That's Queens to 87948. Yes? If you want.
Shalay, why now? Why do you think they are taking this effort now?
I think so. When I'm thinking about this in my mind, I can imagine how fearful some people may have been, closer to when the incident started, and who was going to listen to them, who was going to take on the mantle and actually do something about the government. So I feel like perhaps it's like now is the time. The chickens are coming home to roost. And maybe there are people who were around at that time who are willing to speak the truth. Maybe there are people who were around at that time who were dangerous, and maybe they're no longer here and they feel like it may be easier to come out with this now. I feel that if it was closer to the situation as far as the time frame, then it may not be something that would have worked out to even move forward with. So I feel like because there's been time and because there have been people who were involved who are no longer there, or people who were involved who may have been there and willing to speak the truth now, I think that's why they're probably doing it now.
Interesting. That's actually a good thought or a good take on it. Athena, do you think it's because that we're seeing more justice happen within the criminal justice system, or do you think that people are being held accountable more today than they ever have been?
I don't think people are being held accountable more today than they have been. Honestly, I'm thinking it's probably the family who probably figured out, we might need to do this now, because one of the concerns that I have with them trying to do this lawsuit, even though I love Ben Crump and the work that he has done and is doing, is that with the new administration coming in and their policies towards DEI and other things, my question is the feasibility of them getting what they deserve in this situation.
Interesting. Madam Prez, do you think that this administration will try to bury this as they're trying to bury the history of discrimination and racial prejudice in this country?
Well, I would like to say that America will never do anything surprising. She will always do what she knows how to do, which is lie, be corrupt, steal, not want to pay what's due. She has a responsibility and an obligation to try to fix a wrong whether she wants to do it in this century or not, she still is responsible. The hate amongst Black people, she is the root of that. The constant hate Black people, the color of their skin. We can remove anybody who carry out the act, but it was legal to be a racist. It was legal to hang men. It was legal to make a person go through a different door. It was legal to not have a person at the same school as white people. Those things are documented. Now, if she wants to take responsibility or not, who knows? But because she lives in this delusion doesn't mean that, we won't put forth the effort. Now, I will say this, Ben Crump is on a rampage of justice. There's a few cases that he just won in a settlement place. So this could be a very quiet victory. The Henrietta Lacks, her case was hundreds of years old, if not 100 years old. But, her legacy, they took her cells. He won that case. The settlement is undisclosed. We don't know how much the family walked away with, but he was able to get them something. He just represented some people, a group in Georgia, these women I'm losing the verbiage of what these women, they were responsible for giving Black women funds. So they were sued basically by a white man saying that, hey, that's racist, denying a person funding based on the color of their skin.
You mean the Fearless Fund?
Yes, the Fearless Fund. Now, he also just walked away with a undisclosed settlement there as well. So I believe
they won. Okay.
Well, it wasn't a victory to me, but he was able, because see, the attorneys are thinking like this: let's get something. What can we get? Let's get something. What's the happy medium? You're not maybe you don't get a national holiday. Maybe you don't get, a big old plaque, but maybe you get $75 million. Maybe you get something. That's the mindset of the attorney. I think he has the right thinking, because right now the family has gotten nothing. And I would just like to say to us Black people, we've given his family nothing either. We have not looked after Malcolm X's family. Our parents have put in tithes and offering in the Black church to white Jesus every chance they get. But we refuse. This is a man who lived a life that is noble.
Right.
And then we still haven't got his family anything. His family should be treated like the royal family.
Agreed.
We treat the Obamas like the royal family.
Dr. Alicia, do you think America will right the wrong?
Well, hopefully, because Attorney Crump, I think Madam President just talked about all these victories. So maybe Attorney Crump can get it done. He did say there's information. There's now fresh information coming out. There are more people coming forward. And I really hope that this turns out in favor of this family. Think about it this way. They witnessed the assassination of their father. I remember they were sitting in the front row. Can you imagine the trauma that's etched deep into their souls? I mean, it's been imprinted in them to sit in the front row and to watch your father get assassinated in that way. They really need to have justice served for them to heal. Right. The legacy of that trauma is probably very devastating for them. I'm certain, we don't know. They haven't really talked about the aftermath and what that did to them psychologically. But I mean, the images and emotions of that day just made a big mark on their identities. You can see the pain in her face even now. It's like it just happened. Yeah. And so I think that justice needs to be served for this whole entire family to heal, but for us to heal. Because psychologically, when we see Malcolm X assassinated, even in a movie, it's like our fathers are assassinated, and it hurts us. So we need justice for this family, but for the entire Black community.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Dr. Alicia, Jenny Jerome said the root of Malcolm's trouble was the lynching of his father. That triggered a Greek string of tragedies crossing 4 generations and culminating in the death of his grandson and namesake. What do you think about that sort of intergenerational or the generational trauma that's happened that culminated into that? What do you think? Because I know you talked a little bit about the grandson too earlier.
Yeah, By the way, I was really following that grandson. He was on social media. He was very outspoken, and he was, you could see the energetic thrust of that grandson, how he was kind of like a natural leader, just like his grandfather was. So, I mean, is it a conspiracy of the great rise of this Black man? Who knows? I mean, energetically biologically through their heritage, you could see that there was this rising. So are people watching this entire family? Because we may not know how powerful we are, but the people who know how powerful we are definitely understand this. And, just as there was clearly this conspiracy, because they're suing the FBI, the CIA, the police department, like they're suing all the people because it was a conspiracy. So we need to stop talking about it as if, maybe this happened. I mean, there's bona fide evidence now that Attorney Crump is now coming forward with to say we need to have justice done.
Yeah. In 1955, J. Edgar Hoover said that Black unity was the number one threat to America. Black unity, or the Negro Messiah, the Black Messiah. And so then there arise COINTELPRO and all of these different efforts to kill, assassinate Black leadership, destroy our communities, put crack in our communities. Madam Prez, do you think today that there's still an effort, an intentional effort to destroy Black people?
The effort it's embedded and ingrained in us. So we're talking about the minds of a people. They say that I never have to put you in chains once I chain your mind. So that's what's happening in a lot of Black people. My father, who was killed at the age of 28 years old, and gang violence, all of that. There was no white folks, no white police hanging him. This is a systemic issue that we're faced with. I read an article, a little girl from Chicago, she's 16 years old. Her parents let her see the car, she go and get gas, and she killed, crossfire. We are doing the work. And the crazy part is it's nonstop. Whatever they were implementing in our minds, it's nonstop. You can have it, at Thanksgiving dinner, you can talk about it, you already know. We live in a community of a family of people who don't even want to live next to each other. You don't want to live next to your sister? You want to live next to your brother? Oh, because they play a lot, they do drugs, they alcohol, all these different things. So we as a community of people have the tendency to, they don't have to do anything to us. We having with the mindset that they have passed on, we have it full effect.
Yeah.
Each other.
And I mean, but it also is ingrained in our music. Tank said that our our violence isn't the threat. Our love is. Yes. So they are rewarded by filling our communities and the airwaves with all of this negativity. They are rewarded. They don't pay for love. They don't pay to celebrate Blackness or Black people or Black unity. They pay to celebrate violence. But we'll talk more about it as soon as we come back from commercial, because we got to go to commercial. All right.
You want to grow your money and not blow your money, as Constance says, check us out at flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, programs, videos, resources. In 2024, there's no reason to be broke when there's information all around us. So get your money right. flynubianmoney.com.
Go ahead and finish your thought, lady.
Oh, I was just going to say that you're so right. If you think about how our young men are made to feel about love and like, they're constantly or automatically called a lame. Oh man, you lame, or you a sip. If a guy has some kind of expression of kindness, and it starts early, and it's like, what in the world? How can you have a generation of people that just think like and interest and softness is completely lame?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
You remember when they were calling Russell Wilson a lame because he loves his woman and he took care of her? Like,
Russell, man, fix his plate. Fix that man plate. Fix that man's plate. That's a good man, Savannah.
Oh, Shalay, what are your thoughts? Do you think there's an intentional effort to destroy Black people today?
Yes, but just like Madam Press said, it's already ingrained. So there's nothing that they really, there are outside little forces that they can continuously do to keep us oppressed. But once you have gotten control of that mind and that mentality, everything is on autopilot. So I agree 100%. And everything that we need to do as a people and as individuals and families to combat that is here. And we all have a responsibility to do that. But it's like, it can be very hard sometimes to get people to understand that the war is here. And once we change this, then we can change everything else, because we live in we're so oppressed, we don't know we're oppressed. We're comfortable now.
We're comfortable in our oppression.
Yeah. We're comfortable with the oppression. We can buy the Nikes, we can buy the PS3 or 4 or 5, whatever it is, right? So we don't really understand how oppressed we are. And that's a trick. That's the matrix, right? Because we're living in this and we think that we're doing okay, but we're not. Literally, the world is passing us by and we're walking and everyone else is running, and it's all here.
Yeah.
Once we can change this, then we can start running, but we got to change this.
But Athena, how do we change that? How do we change our mindset so that we are not comfortable in our oppression?
Honestly, when I think about us as a group and the mindset that each of us have in different, because we're kind of segmented, right? So we're all Black, but like they said, not all skin folk is king folk, and we are not all on the same page. Even on the comment section on this show and this panel, you can see the differences, right? Unfortunately, my thinking has been this: as Black people, it's almost like we have a penchant for pain. It's like a gluttony for punishment. I think we have to reach to the point where we feel more pain for some reason, because if it hasn't happened now, if the shift in mindset hasn't happened now, it's like, what more is it going to take for us to get on page, right? With this election, and however anyone may feel about who won, who lost, who voted for who did not vote for who, right? If we were able to raise 30 million in like a day or two for Kamala, we could have done that for ourselves in a kind of a political pact to advance us as a group and ask for the things that we wanted. But I'm fearing that we don't do those things, that we don't put our money, which is what the currency that people understand in this country, towards things that are really going to make a shift. And my fear is that we are, if not headed right there, the permanent underclass that Dr. Claude Anderson talks about.
Wow. So, Dr. Alicia, psychologically, post-traumatic slave syndrome is a thing. Do you think that's where we are? Do you think that we suffer from that today? In congruence or in addition to, the other oppressive measures that have been ingrained in us? What do you think?
Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Okay, so that's a term that was used to talk about the intergenerational psychological effects that come directly out of slavery, right? And how it is perpetuated in how we treat each other in our families, right? So I know Joy DeGroy, or whatever her name is, that came up with how we interact in our families and how it comes directly out of slavery. That's something that we need to raise awareness of and start coming out of that level of mentality. I think I want to comment too on the rise of the Black Messiah. That's what I was trying to come up with before, is that is of concern, I think, for the populace. COINTELPRO and what continues now is COINTELPRO. I mean, that's who knows? The future will tell what COINTELPRO actions are happening even today, psychologically. And I think that the rise of the Black Messiah and the rise of the Black family has always been threatening to white folks, right? And I was talking yesterday about white fragility and how that has been of concern. It is threatening. I don't know why the feelings of inferiority by the other, right? Why they look at any sort of measure of success from us and we see this backlash. So it's the rise of the Black Messiah that's of concern, but it's also the rise of the Black family that's of concern. And we must be very powerful because so much effort has been put into destroying the Black family, psychologically, emotionally, financially. All of these things have been put in place, which signals to us that we must be wonderful. So we have to be cognizant of that.
We are a resilient people, and that is the threat, because in spite of everything that they try to throw, every roadblock, we just keep on rising. But Madam Press, I do want to ask you, and I know you want to add to that, but I do want to ask you though, in terms of the rise of the Black Messiah and COINTELPRO, when we talk about today, because Dr. Alicia said, well, I don't know how that's showing up today, right? In what ways? What ways do you think COINTELPRO is showing up or is attacking our community? Go ahead. You're muted, babe.
Hey, well, one of the things that I think about pretty frequently is us being America's product. So we are constantly producing a system for them. So once you get here as a slave, you got to pick cotton and establish this wonderful system for them that brings them wealth. So now they say, well, we can't have them pick cotton no more. What can we do? Well, we're going to do something called integration. But the thing about integration is we only want to accept the ones that we like. So what does that do to the ones that I don't like? They constantly feel inferior. They constantly feel like they don't have enough. It interrupts their esteem, right? And then they also feel like, well, I can't do anything. So they have these standards for Black people. Well, Black people should not have the biggest issue is Black people allow white supremacy to set a standard for them in any aspect in life. But then we got to eat. So when slavery was over, most slaves said, hey, master, can I continue to pick the cotton? Because we got to have somewhere to eat and we got to have somewhere to sleep. So Black people have the tendency to be in survival mode. Now, this is generations. You already know, bad jobs, anything. Hey, and you look at our athletes. So here's my thing. The people who produce gets the most wealth out of America. So you a Black person, you an athlete, you 6'9", you can dunk a basketball. I got $50 million for you. What, you a teacher teaching a bunch of Black kids? I have no money for you. None.
Woo!
This is the reality that we live in. We have to constantly challenge what we have integrated into. And I don't think, like Dr. Alicia said, we didn't did that enough. We have not stopped, paused, don't agree to. I mean, even I was just saying, Black genius is constantly given to the systems. When a Black child is a genius, the first thing we got to figure out is how I'm gonna, you know what, y'all may say, you know what, Chanel, she's lying. So I'm just gonna say Gabby Douglas, she's an Olympian, right? Simone Biles, Olympian, right? They both were taken out of the hands of responsibility of their mothers. How do they become gold medalists? I got to put you in an environment where you can succeed. Now, what kind of world creates where the mother cannot produce the seed to succeed? This is crazy. So it's, I mean, we're cycling, you know, but getting off that cycle isn't easy. You know, yeah. I don't want to pretend as if, like, you know, that's just a no-brainer and all you got to do is, we ain't got, this is the Black community. The Black conscious community ain't got no currency. They ain't got no currency. How do we exchange? How do we eat? Ain't no rice. Ain't no Black woke rice for food. So we are all a part of this system.
And that's the thing about it, Madam Press, is like, we didn't get here overnight, right? So we were oppressed longer than we've been free. Think about that. Freedom possibly has been, you know, Jim Crow was just abolished in 1970. So what, 50 years ago? So, so you think about the time that it's taken to beat us down, to brainwash us, to manipulate us, to be the way that we are. It's going to take some generations to wash it out. Athena, what is today's COINTELPRO in your opinion?
Today's COINTELPRO, I mean, listen, the way the internet is moving and Russia and bots and everything, the media, they don't really have to set up some separate organization to control the Black masses. The media and entertainment industry does that very well with what it promotes. Look at what's going on with Diddy. Look at what's going on all around on social media, what money is being funneled to. We already have a programming since the destabilization of families. We already have that programming. So all I have to do is show images and articles and social media and put you in that ecosphere of constant negativity about you as a Black person, as you as a Black man, you as a Black woman, and that unity. With the gender war that is happening between Level Up and Red Pill, Blue Pill, Manosphere, and all of that, and the dating market being trash, they don't really need to do anything. I don't even think that, most, unfortunately, where we are economically, most Black people, they don't really have to make any serious investments to keep us oppressed, because we're in environments and being exposed to things that are going to reinforce that. It's not unless you as a Black person is trying to mentally, spiritually, and economic rise will you even feel the different barriers coming at you in that way, because most of us are too poor to even feel advanced levels of racial tactics that are probably occurring.
Good stuff. Wow. So what about you? What do you think, Shalay? What do you think is today's COINTELPRO?
I think, in a way, in a large way, the school system, the public school system. I think that, so I was born in Boston, right? And I lived in like the inner city until I was about 7 years old. My parents divorced. My dad kept the first house. My mom bought a house in Milton, Massachusetts. Milton may as well have been Mayberry, okay? And it's right outside of Mattapan, which is supposedly the hood. But Milton, Massachusetts, my mother thought she was putting us into a good school system, took us out of the private schools that we were going to, and put us into the Milton school systems. And we got called it every N-word, B. I was into the second grade at that time. So I kind of had a good foundation from the school that I was previously attending. And these people, the teachers, the school system, went out of their way to try not to educate me in the class with the other children who were being educated, in the way of me raising my hand, knowing the answer. Anyone else? Anyone else? Shalay, put your hand down. Anyone else? In the way of me, a teacher coming to me saying, wow, you're getting all A's in everything that you're doing. Maybe we should think about skipping you a grade. And me going to my mother and saying that the teacher said that. She goes to the teacher and they say, I never said that. She's getting A's in the work that she's doing, but she wouldn't be able to keep up moving forward. The school system in this United States is not set up to educate Black children. It's not set up to do that. So when we put all of our intention and our responsibility of our children in the hands of people who are not set up to educate our children, we're giving our children away and throwing them away. We've got to, okay, we're in the public school system. We've got to supplement that at home. And it's just something that we have to do, and supplement it with, the curriculum of math, science, STEM, literature, reading, and also the history of our people and what it means to be Black and what it is that we need to do to get what we need to get in this country.
Yeah, y'all, they are trying their best to take our history out of the schools. And it is our responsibility to teach our children the history that they do not want to teach our children. But we're going to talk a little bit more when we get back from this commercial.
Fly Nubian Money is now on Spotify. Yes, yes, yes. We are on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, you can listen to us. All you have to do is search Fly Nubian Money and we will appear. All of our episodes. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating and reviews so other people that come along and are looking for a good show to watch, they'll follow us too. If you are interested in being on Fly Nubian Money, sorry, I don't have any spaces. I'm just playing. If you are interested in being a queen or a king on Fly Nubian Money for the day, please reach out to me. I'm at info@realvirtual.net. That's info@realvirtual.net. Also, if you need help with your business, go ahead and send me an email for that too. Okay. I've said enough. Now back to the show.
So I want to ask our folks who are joining us in the chat, what do you think today's COINTELPRO is? What do you think is that thing that that they have put out that is trying to prohibit us as Black people? I really believe it's music. Music, the frequency of music is one of the most powerful in this world, and the things that come out of the mouths into the universe, into the brains of our children, it's reprogramming. That's why music is so emotional. You know, when you're at church or you're listening to an emotional song, you begin to cry. It changes your emotions. I remember somebody I used to date, they were like, man, we used to go, you know, they were little gangbangers and thugs and stuff. They were like, before we go fight, we will listen to this, because it changed their mood. And so music, for me, I believe that is today's COINTELPRO. I want to ask you, Dr. Alicia, what you think that is today.
Yeah, I like your thing with the music. I was trying to think of this movie. It's called The Good Shepherd. Y'all check out The Good Shepherd, because it's all about how the CIA was developed. Watch that movie. And there was a cameo with Joe Pesci, and he goes through it all, and he's having a conversation with Matt Damon, and he says, oh my God, he was like, the Irish got their land. He's like, the Italians got their food or whatever. And he's like, and the N-word, he said, the Black people, they got their music. That's what he said. The Black people have their music, the entertainment, right? And he said, what do you all have? Because he's referring to the WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant individual. And he said, Matt Damon was like, we have the United States of America, and y'all are just passing by. Like, to me, that scene is so, y'all check that out. Go on YouTube and watch that scene, because it really categorizes how we're seen and what we're seen to be. We're looked at to move forward fashion, to move forward music, and then that's our place. Yeah. That's our place. That's what we're here for. And so The Good Shepherd is a great movie to look at, to give just a really good picture of how WASP see us.
Wow. Let me ask you this, Dr. Alicia. When we talk about education, and Shalay mentioning that it's it is the COINTELPRO of today, because of, you know, the way that the school system is, and we see the efforts with the destruction of the Department of Education, which may or may not be a good thing. I don't know, but internally, what they're trying to do with removing our history is extremely important. And so what do we do? How do we educate? What do we do? Like, okay, the school system is trash. What can we do? How do we educate? Because we can't stay home and teach these kids, right?
Well, the whole idea that the school system is trash. Like, I grew up in Gary, Indiana. All of my teachers were Black. Everybody I talked to, all my students were Black. And then I went from Gary to Tuskegee, Alabama. Tuskegee Institute, like my entire youth, from zero till I stepped my foot on Indiana University campus, was all Black teachers, all Black students, all Black education. I didn't have a racist teacher taking out their racism, their problems with Black people on me. I did not have that. So I had a good sense of who and what I was. So do we throw the baby out with the bathwater by getting rid of the entire Department of Education? I'm not quite certain that's the solution, but I really do think that parents need to supplement, just like Shalaya talked about. Nice to meet you today. Yeah, I mean, you're the teacher first. Moms and dads in the household, we're sending kids to school. Are they ready to learn? Because I worked in Chicago public schools as a social worker. And are we sending our children to school in a way where they can learn? Or are we just putting everything emphasis on this one system? Now, the educational system, yes, it's racist. The criminal justice system, we're talking about that today, it's racist. The healthcare system, Henrietta Lacks, racist, right? So all of these systems are racist, but we have to keep in mind that's the system that is brought up. So there's ways in which you can work within the system. Perhaps there's some successes there where we see some really good things happen. And look at Tuskegee. I mean, I was born ground zero of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, right? Wow. I was born right there in that hospital. So, I mean, it's healthy paranoia for Black people, healthy cultural paranoia for Black people not to trust these systems.
What did James Baldwin say? To be Black in America is to be in a rage at all times. I mean, it's real. I think about, with me and my kids, and of course, we just got to a place where they never had Black teachers when we were in California. Never. Now we get here and it's like all Black teachers, and they don't have any white teachers. And so they're like, okay, this is too much. It's a little bit overbearing for them, right? But it's cool. But one of the things that I can say for me is that because I was always very intentional about teaching the Black history, they used to be so mad. We going to the movies. Oh, we going to the movies. You taking us to the movies. Oh, we know what we about to see. We about to see a Black movie. Oh, hey, kids, gather around. Let's go watch TV. Oh, okay. We got to watch something educational about Black people. I was very intentional about what I taught. And so they rebelled. But now the conversations that we have are about Black history, are about Black culture, about Black pride. So we have to insulate our children. But to you, Madam Pres, what do you think about the school system, and how can, I know you're not a parent, but how can a parent, what can we do? You know, do we have to homeschool our kids? Like, how do we give them the proper education?
Well, a parent who is uneducated will not give a child proper education. That's just number one. If you are an ignorant parent, if you don't value reading, if you don't value any of those things, right. Say
it again. What do we want back?
I just do not think you are going to, but I will say this. There were times where, in the beginning, the earlier stages are important. We think that, you're going to have this 18-year-old change their mind. No. But this 7-year-old, don't be lazy with the young ones. A teenager may be very challenging to get them to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it. But a baby, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, start ingraining in them something of substance. And this is what I learned about being a kid myself, because I don't have children, but I have once been a child. And I will say that I remember surprising my parents, my grandparents, at what I could retain. Allow your child to surprise you. But if you are a lazy parent, you will have a lazy child. This is just something that is inherited. And I will not say that parents aren't tired. It is exhausting to try to save a child, keep them from so many different things and so many different systems, sometimes without help. This is why sometimes I believe Dr. Cress Wessling saying preparing for children is most important. Having children at an age of intellect is important. So I will just say that if you know that you don't have the intellectual ability to ingrain certain things in your child, allow someone else to do it.
Madam President, please don't educate your children if you ain't educated. What do you think about that, Athena?
I'm just being honest.
Listen, to piggyback off what I said yesterday, a lot of these parents are dusty. Let's be real. A lot of these parents are dusty. And do not, because learning begins at home first. I remember learning that in school, actually, when I was in school in Jamaica, they say learning begin at home. And my parents definitely instilled that in us. And I'm so grateful that I actually started my educational journey in Jamaica because everybody was Black. So I did not have to worry about racism in that way, or I really didn't have to think about it until I came to America. And I specifically remember the first week of school realizing that, oh, my Black skin means something here that it didn't mean when I was living over there. Right. So, and it wasn't anything positive. Like I was expected to fail or was expected to have these challenges. So when I excelled, I had a lot of haters, but it's okay. Okay, I was gonna be there. But my thing is, and the question I want to pose to the ladies on the panel is that what are we supposed to do with dusty people and dusty parents? Because if the people, like Madam President was saying, are not educated, a lot of us are just hooking up like rabbits and having children and then trying to figure out stuff afterwards, to be honest with you. And you don't have the educational capacity, the financial capacity for the lack of rearing children. Because like you said, Madam President, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said, Black people should wait till their 30s to have children because of the economic situation that we face. So
what do you think about that, Dr. Alicia, about her question?
What's your question?
Oh, never mind.
My question is, should we leave these dusty parents behind and we just focus on who can get on board?
Let me tell you, dusty parents will blame everybody else for things that they didn't do. I remember working in Chicago public schools, and the kids in Chicago public schools The ones who succeeded, the parents and the teachers worked together for the betterment of the child. But when you did not find success, you have parents just sending their kids to school, not ready to learn, abusive, and all these different situations, environmental situations. The kids weren't working with the parents. And really, I don't want to call Dusty parents because that's not fair. Because when I talk to some of the parents, I asked them about what was your experience like in education. And they would tell me stories of really unfortunate experiences they had when they were in school. So there's this projecting. They were uncomfortable coming up to the school to advocate for their child, to work with their child, because they themselves went to that same school and they didn't have great memories of what was happening in that school. And so there was a lot of healing that needed to happen, even with the quote unquote Dusty parents. I like to give a little bit more grace to and empathy for that, for the group, because it was a lot of healing that needed to have been done, where I can say, listen, as the social worker there can say, listen, I understand that you have hard feelings with this particular school, with these teachers who look down on them. And I mean, it was even stuff happening with some of the Black schools. Okay. I worked in Black schools. And so I would work with them to say, listen, we need you. I would say the teachers can't do it without you, mom, dad. Yeah. We need you here. So we did a lot of work there. I worked in a community in schools to kind of heal some of the things that was happening in the neighborhood. So there have been some beautiful moments that I think that we're making this blanket statement that education system is terrible for children. But I worked in the educational system. I saw some really beautiful healing moments that can help to build the bridge. I'm not trying to be divisive here because there's enough division going on. Schools really can do a wonderful job of reaching out to families and the communities and having a great safe space so that children can learn and develop and be who they want to be.
Yeah, true that. What can parents do, Shalay?
I think parents can be intentional. I feel like your actions are going to follow your intention, but then it also goes back to the mentality and getting support. If you know that you're stressed, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? Stress, and it's like you have all these responsibilities and all these things you have to take care of, and then you have to supplement at home, which I do. But there are times when you're just like, look, I need a V8, and I need the Netflix and chill right now because I'm stressed out. So knowing and being healthy enough to know when you need help. Mm-hmm. And reaching out and tapping into those resources that Dr. Alicia was saying, because there are resources out there in most communities. I'm not saying all across the country, and in some communities there may not be, but in most communities, like, there are some sort of level of resources that you can reach in and say, hey, my children is having a problem with this new math, and I don't know how to work with them on this. I don't know how to explain it. So what can I do? Going to the teachers and the administrators saying, hey, I want to be more involved, but what can I do to help? Yeah. Because sometimes you're not even in that mental space to know what you can do. It seems obvious to be like, read to your children more and help them with their homework. But when you're not in that mental space and you're going through your own stuff and you're working through your own traumas, you know, I've seen Dusty. I've definitely seen Dusty parents. But when you're working through your own traumas, I get that too. But it's like, at a certain point, you brought these children here. There are responsibility and going to seek help when you know that you need help.
Yeah. You know, the thing about it is that's really important is that we just need to show up. Mm-hmm. I understand that you may not have the most knowledge as a parent. I understand that you may not understand, the curriculum or whatever, but just showing up means the world. 70% of black boys get suspended 70% more times than any other child, black boys. If they just knew that their parent was active, they would think twice about suspending your child. They have less tolerance. If you look at if you've ever read the book by called the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys by Joanta Kunjufu, he talks about how these schools are set up to specifically target our Black boys more than anybody else, more than our Black girls, especially white girls and white boys. They have less tolerance. Those are things that they did to my children, especially my oldest son. I only had to tell him one time when my oldest son went into school. I had to let them know. I had to put everybody on notice because this is what you ain't gonna do with mine. And by the time my other two boys came through, they already knew. This is a Carter. We're gonna make sure that we treat him well, and they already knew. But I had to give them notice because they automatically assumed that he was bad, that he had ADHD, that there was something wrong, or that he had some type of behavioral issues, and he didn't. But they automatically make that assumption, and that's the unfortunate thing. But let's take a look at some of these slides here. Because I want to go back to Malcolm X, because that's what we're talking about. Let's talk about these allegations and the family lawsuit. The allegations are that they failed to safeguard despite imminent threats. If you look back at the video, you can see that they removed security the night of the assassination. They actively encouraged and facilitated the assassination. That's what they're accusing them of. And then the on-duty operatives failed to intervene. So while they were trying to use life-saving measures, they failed to intervene. And a concealment effort or cover-up after the fact. Now, in 1989, Martin Luther King's family sued and won a civil suit against the federal government for the murder of Martin Luther King. It happened. It was real. They proved it. They won. And we're seeing the same thing. Hopefully that'll come into fruition for Malcolm X. What do you think, you all, the role in the U.S. government in killing our leaders? I know we talked about the rise of the Black Messiah, but why do you think that there's just such a huge, there was a huge effort to destroy our Black leaders? And I'll start with you, Madam Prez.
Well, I think one of the biggest things about destroying our Black leaders is to keep control. Everything about how the supremacy used to work in the past is if you had a slave that will hop out of control, let's bring him to the front, let's whip him, let's make sure that everybody sees that there is no way to behave this way and still survive. So when it came to the Black leadership, it's like you said that J. Hoover, unity is going to corrupt this country. Black folks coming together, they got some esteem about themselves. They don't need no liquor. They don't need none of those things. All they need is, togetherness, building their own, having Black Wall Street. Could you imagine if Black Wall Street was still alive today? Black Wall Street would be Vegas if it was alive today. That is our Black Wall Street, was our Vegas. So all that to say that we having our own ecosystem, our own money, our own power, then we're not tapping into theirs. We don't need theirs. We don't need their media. We don't need their basketball teams. We don't need their modeling, runway agencies. We got our own everything. So I think that when you take out a Black leader, you start taking the soul of the people. You start keeping them in control, keeping them in their place. And that happened many years ago.
When you talk about Black Wall Street too, and there were many communities across the nation, just like Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma just happened to be one of the largest and the most popular. But what destroyed Black Wall Street? Because they built after they bombed, they rebuilt 300 businesses. They went from 600 businesses to 300 businesses. What destroyed Black Wall Street for the final time? I know y'all know. Integration. Because when we no longer had to do business with Black people, we stopped doing business with Black people. And that ultimately destroyed our community. When the dollar circulated 12 months before it left, now 6 hours. So in the most close-knit communities, the Jews or the Asians, 30 days? Nobody circulating money, the dollar, for 12 months like we were. Nobody. But we were able to do that. The power in our people, in our community is huge. So I do want to ask you, Athena, what is it? Why is the government so hell bent on destroying us? This conspiracy. Well, it's not a conspiracy. It's real, right?
Well, you only try to destroy and suppress and oppress what is powerful. So, for example, a lot of people.
Let me drop this mic. Go ahead.
You only try to oppress what is powerful. For example, no one is worried about the homeless person on the street, right? No one is going out there with to oppress that person further. People you're not worried about, you are not on your list. You go about your day, you're not really thinking of. So why is the government still hell bent on putting time, energy, money into oppressing and suppressing us and having rules, policies, and systems in place that continue that? Is because we are powerful. As Black people, we have a spiritual inheritance that when we come together, when we unify, that we create a force that no one can break. And in order to keep us suppressed and oppressed, they have to interrupt that force from all angles, economically, relationally, everything being thrown to make sure that we do not come together and we do not band together and be prosperous. Constance, what is the stat? Are we like what, the 13th or 15th richest nation if we just keep our own spending to ourselves?
I think it was like fifth.
Fifth? Okay, fifth? Okay.
1.7 trillion in 2025.
1.7 trillion, right? So they understand if we band together that is the economic base that we can to rise up. If we had marriages, because lack of marriage is also causing all this major problem within our community from an economic, spiritual, and social level. If we had marriages, if we focused on our career paths, and if we did just 3 basic, simple things, we could have a whole generation of productive, happily unified Black people, but that is not the case. And we are mentally enslaved to think that non-Black is better, that white is better. So that's why when integration came, we went to shop with white people. And that is why our men are interracially dating at twice the rate as men of other races. That is why all these things are happening and being promoted through social media and the media, like I said, to keep us oppressed.
Because why? The white man's ice is colder. That's what Malcolm X said. We think the white man's ice is colder. That's crazy. So I know we hitting upon that hour. We a little bit over the hour. But I want to talk about a resolution, y'all. I want to really speak about what we can do as a community, because that's what it all comes back to. And I know we have some amazing thought leaders here on this panel today that have some real solutions about what is something simple that we can do as Black people to move the needle on our community. And I'll let you start first, Shalay.
I believe that we each have to be super intentional and laser focused, tunnel vision on getting our house in order, our own house. Because if each one of us, and I'm talking about get your credit together, start saving some money, stop spending on things we don't need to spend on, start investing in stocks, start buying real estate, at least own the home that you live in. We each individually have to be super intentional about doing these things, showing up at the parent-teacher conferences, reading to your children every single night, doing one more homework lesson a night. We have to do that. And if each one of us can do that, whether we're married, whether we're single, whether we have children or not, we have nieces, we have nephews, we have cousins, if we can each get our minds wrapped around that and how we can individually be great in our own right, in our own home, that's going to automatically affect the whole community and do it and scale it quicker than trying to get everyone on the same page. We just need to get on the same page about what we need to do in our house. And then it's going to automatically benefit the whole community.
Amen. Let's go with you, Miss Athena.
Listen, I had to write it down, honey. I had to write it down. So the things that we can do to advance us. First of all, marriage. We need to stop this whole baby mama, baby daddy situation thing that has been flying around. And we need to have marriage to build up our economic base and also to provide a strong foundation for our children. And having children within marriage and having the amount of children you can afford. If you are poor, you should not be having sex and you should not be having children you cannot afford, right? Especially if you, with this new administration coming down the line and abortion, all this other stuff is happening. If you are poor, especially as a woman, you need to keep them knees closed. Okay. Also, we need to learn skills that are profitable. Skills, pick a side. You want to be blue or white collar, blue collar, get those jobs. White collar, learn the skills that will pay. We should not be going to school and getting education in areas where we will not be paid, and we need to start our businesses. My name is Athena Garner. I'm a CPA and founder of We Wealth Women. You can find me at elevatewithathena.com or at We Wealth Women.
Let's go. I love it. Shalay, where can we find you?
You can find me at Shalay Camillo on Instagram, vitalsourcerealty.com. That's my real estate brokerage here in Massachusetts, and Facebook. Y'all hit me up.
All right. Dr. Alicia, what can we do to move the needle in our community?
You know what? I was a little distracted because I just got an email. As we were talking about the educational system, I just got an email that my daughter got a full ride to an HBCU. I was like, congratulations. That's why I was a little distracted.
That's amazing.
Maybe we should send our kids to a HBCU and support these institutions that are already there. I know we're going to be going to visit, but y'all know where to find me, coachingwithdralicia.com.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Amazing. Madam Press, what should we do? You're muted, baby.
I'm with all of you all, number one. And number two, I would like to say, I think that having our house in order is number one. Before you can go out and master anyone else's house, you have to have your own house in order. And one of the things that I would like to include in having your house in order is having integrity, having your own value system that is outside of the world. Our value system, our integrity, is going to transform how we date, how we marry, how we spend our money, how we travel. So yes, I am for all of that. I am 100% Madam President with the Z. I am 100% politically incorrect. I got family coming through the house too. Like walking in, walking out. This is what happens. Family oriented. See. So you can always find me, one Madam President with the Z, and you could also check me out with the Freedom.company, some of the best apparel on the planet, and get your copy of Matters of the Heart.
Yay. All right. So I'll say this. It is apparent. It is obvious and apparent that they are intentionally, and they have been intentionally trying to destroy our people since the inception of this country. They don't do anyone else the way they do Black people. That means one thing. We are a powerful people, like Athena said. We are a resilient people, like Athena said. We know the number one way to build wealth is through real estate, right? So with all the efforts that they've done, predatory lending, redlining, all those things, still 43% of us are homeowners in spite of. So we've crossed all of those roadblocks. We've jumped over all those obstacles. We continue to rise. And every time we do, they try to destroy us. That's because we're powerful. They're afraid of our power. They're afraid of our brilliance. If only we knew how powerful we were. And so I will tout this until the wheels come off. We got to start practicing collective economics. We got to start doing business with people who look like us. We got to start spending with us. It's not really about Black or white. It's really about green. At the end of the day, money talks, bullshit walks. We know that. If we could collectively put our money together like they did when they put that $30 million together for Kamala in 24 hours, then we can do the same thing for our communities. But we just got to be intentional. Find Black-owned businesses to work with. Try to be intentional about your spending, save, invest, but work with Black people. That's what I say. That's how I think that we can move the needle inside of our community, is that we start working with Black people. Where can you find me? Everywhere. I am Constance Carter. We appreciate you guys. This was such a great and rich dialogue. Of course, every time we come together and we speak about anything, we always want to talk about what is the solution? What is the real solution? Because we can pontificate all day about whatever it is that we're pontificating on. But if we have no real solution, then it was all in vain. And that's the thing I love about the Fly Nubian Money and these Fly Nubian Queens, is that we are always going to talk about what is the solution. And I love all of these ladies on this panel. This has been wonderful. Thank you. And listen, every time we come live, If in order for you to receive notifications, you need to text the word Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. And if you want to learn how to grow your money and not blow your money, because if you blow your money, it ain't a damn thing funny, go to flynubianmoney.com. All right. And y'all, we is on Spotify. So if you'd like to listen to us and you're not able to watch us, go to Spotify or anywhere where you can listen to podcasts and search for Fly Nubian Money so that you can hear us. We want you to listen to us too. And anytime you want to join us, go ahead and shoot an email to info@realvirtual.info. There we go. Thank you, at realvirtual.net, because there are times when we have guests where we'd like to hear your opinions as well, especially you men out there. We see you guys always in the comments. We want to have you on the show like we have Big Mac every now and then. So you will see us every day, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same bat channel. We will see you tomorrow.